The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
WZWA Sports. It's in the game.
Australians all let us rejoice, for a future world champ have we. With strength and soul and skills galore, he'll win some bloody more. For those who've come across the sea, you've made a big mistake. His first name is Tim, his last name is Tszyu, and he'll smash your fucking face. Woo! Oh my god, Joe, we're here with your boy Hogsley for the WZWA Network, and today we are reviewing our Aussie boy Tim Tszyu's 9th round knockout of Tony Superman Harrison. And I gotta tell you, boys, I am a proud Aussie boy right now. I'm so excited for the future of Tim Tszyu, everyone. And today I'm going to break down not only this fight, but the eventual showdown with Jermell Charlo, which is going to be a hell of a fight. So, where do I start here today? Let's break down who these fighters are. For those who don't know, okay, and I'm sure you probably do if you are watching the review, Tim Tszyu, he's the son of Hall of Famer Tszyu. So there's always been a lot of hype around him based on name value alone. And I've been following his career for maybe about 3 or 4 years now. And I've always been like, man, this he's got something, all right? So he's not just the son of a boxer here. He's got an ability to carve out his own name here in the sport. And this is becoming more and more evident with Tim Tszyu. He may have something special here. And let's just say he already had the showdown with Jermell Charlo locked in. For those who don't know Jermell Charlo, he's the undisputed Super-Welterweight champion, okay? He has all the belts. He is a 5-star fighter, everyone. He's a beast. Charlo's a beast, okay? The only person who has ever beaten Charlo is the man Tim Tszyu has just knocked out. Tony Harrison has the only win against Jermell Charlo. And now Tszyu is a man who's beating the man. Now, look, Charlo did get his revenge over Harrison, but Harrison's a hell of a fighter. And as I was saying, the fight against Charlo was locked in. The balls of Tim Tszyu to take on such a risk in Tony Harrison, I love that. This is what the sport needs, okay? He's not shying away from no one. He's not taking some tomato can just to get his reps in. He took a real challenge and a real risk here with Tony Harrison. Because Tony Harrison, everyone, if you don't know, he's a hell of a fundamental boxer. He boxes like a pure boxer should box. It's all about the jab. It's all about the footwork. It's all about the counter punches and evading shots, all that good shit, all the shit you want to see from a pure boxer. So going into this fight, as much as I respected the hell out of Tim to take the fight, I was a little worried, okay? I'm worried. Styles make fights here in boxing, and I was worried that the style of Tony Harrison was going to cause huge problems here for Tszyu. Just the style of jabbing, for all the skill sets that Tszyu has, and I'll touch more on this as I go on, he doesn't have a lot of great head movement, and he's not really a pure boxer. He's a puncher, to use that phrase, you know. He relies more on his power punches, which is the same as Charlo. Everyone who's had success against Charlo until they end up getting knocked out by him, it's all come from them being the better pure boxer. So I thought this was going to be a real problem for Tszyu coming into the fight, the style that Tony Harrison applies. And, you know, we get to round 1, and that was evident. Okay, I was starting to sweat bullets here because in round 1, that was a clear Tony Harrison round, everyone. He was pumping out that jab like it was a piston, just non-stop. And it kind of looked like Tszyu didn't know what to do with it. Now it's round 1. you learn things. You're like a computer. You absorb it all. You get better. You find new strategies. But the jab's the best punch in boxing for a very, very good reason, okay? Not only is it setting up your own power shots, it's stopping your opponent from throwing theirs. It's cutting off their offense before it even gets started. Each time they come in to throw a hook, it's just pop right in the nose. It's a very fast punch, and Harrison throws his jab with incredible speed. So I was saying, I was sweating bullets there in round one because I was like, man, I really, really hope Tszyu hasn't bitten off more than he can chew here, because I really need to see him fight Charlo. I need to see him win a world championship. We Aussies, we don't have a lot to cheer for when it comes to boxers, other than the occasional flashes in the pan. I mean, look, not trying to put our own boys down. I loved Jeff Horn's win over Manny Pacquiao, but he followed it up with a loss to Terence Crawford, okay? Which, talk about balls on a fighter. The fact that he took on a pound-for-pound fighter right after his win over Manny Pacquiao. Actually, I think he had one defense. That's mistaken. I think he did have one defense. But the take on Crawford, he was going to lose that fight. I think Crawford's like a number 2 pound-for-pound boxer, number 1 pound-for-pound boxer, just been inactive. But anyway, we'll move on. We've got the Maloney brothers. I think they're really, really good fighters. We've got George Kambosos. Oh man, his win over Teofimo Lopez, I love that. Taking out that big mouth, nothing better. But he follows it up with back-to-back losses to Devin Haney, okay? We've never really had like a pound-for-pound boxer come out of Australia. Not in a long time, okay? So I'm itching. I'm itching like a hound to finally have someone who I can just shove in the face of every other nationality who loves boxing and say, you know what, us Aussies, we've got this guy. We've got Tszyu, and I think Tim can be this man. Because even though I thought he was struggling in round one, he did lose round one. He's a perpetual energy machine, a perpetual motion machine. He just keeps going forward, just boom, 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 like a train just going down the tracks. He said in his pre-fight promo videos after his win against Terrell Gorsha, he was knocked down in the first round of that fight, okay? One of the few hiccups he has had as a professional. And he follows that up by saying, I went into Terminator mode and I just took the punches and I came forward and I just kept battering him. That is who Tim is as a fighter, okay? He is a Terminator. But once he has that, like, you can see it in his eyes, he's locked in. He's just gonna just come through, take the punches and fire back harder punches. The pressure he applies as a boxer, incredible. The way he was cutting off the ring tonight, everyone. I mean, I've only really seen that kind of ring generalship. That's a hard word for me to say. Just the ability to make the ring feel so small. The person who comes to mind more than anyone is Gennady Golovkin, okay? He never was really long strides. It's all these short steps. The same thing Tszyu did. Just slowly work your way in, cut that ring off, give him no room to breathe. That is how Tszyu fights. It's incredible to watch. You can almost just feel the pressure start to break and crack down his opponents in every single fight. So yeah, he fights like the Terminator in there. And look, we'll touch on the eventual Charlo matchup. But that may be an issue. That may be an issue because Charlo ain't no Tony Harrison, okay? Charlo is a bad man. Charlo's got some real pop in his punches. You probably don't want to take a couple punches to the face. Even Tszyu said it's not the best strategy, talking about the Terrell fight. It isn't, okay? Like I've said in a previous review, there's no scoring for how well you take a punch in boxing. It doesn't matter if you're able to wear these punches like your Arnie Schwarzenegger covered in cybernetic steel, okay? You're going to lose rounds, okay? Unless you do what you did tonight against Harrison. And that is, every time Harrison seemed to have landed a punch or a punch combo on Tszyu, Tszyu was always getting the better of the exchange. He was always landing the harder punches. He was landing the crisper punches, okay? You need to do that if you are going to take punches from another person. So, and look, that is his game plan. That is his strategy. And he worked it out. He worked out Harrison's jab, okay? I thought the jab was going to do him in. It obviously didn't because he ends up winning. But he managed to work he started throwing the counter overhand right. And you could see not only there was the pressure breaking down Harrison, but the fact that he kept getting countered every time he tried to throw his own offense was really getting to Harrison. These counter rights, these lead left hooks, he was even throwing the lead uppercut, which is a horrible thing to do in boxing, okay? Look, the finish sort of did come from uppercuts, but you always want to work off the jab, the 1-2, mixing the hook. The uppercut should never be your lead punch. I mean, I'm not a super knowledgeable person. I can't tell you why you shouldn't do that, but I've heard from more knowledgeable people that you should. And look, it makes sense. The uppercut's kind of, it leaves you a bit defenseless. If you're coming straight up the gut, you're leaving all this vacant, right? You're leaving yourself open to hooks and over the overhand rights, and the uppercut is normally a close range punch, okay? So if you're trying to get in on someone, you probably don't want to throw the lead uppercut, but it didn't matter. You could clearly see these counter punches and the pressure was breaking down Harrison and it was giving him grief, okay? So look, as always, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I'm just excited. Like I said, I'm an Aussie boy. I've just seen another Aussie boy win. I'm just full of energy, okay? But the fight, look, it wasn't just like, here's Tszyu, loses round 1, and it just dominates. He is that perpetual motion machine. And you could really start to see Harrison start to crack in the 3rd round. I believe it was in that round that Tszyu landed, up until that point in the fight, his best punch of the fight. It was this huge right hand that just cracked. You could really see it moved Harrison's head. And I think from that point on, in boxing, if you are a puncher, you need to let them know your power, okay? You need to, because that is what de-incentivizes, we'll use that word, your opponent from keeping coming forward. If you hit him with a great cracking punch that hurts him, you don't want to throw another punch against him. You don't want to get hit by that again, even if it doesn't knock you out. We're talking about a punch to the face, everyone, or a punch to the gut, okay? This shit hurts. Doesn't matter how much adrenaline you've got pumping through your system. When someone's cracking you that hard, it's gonna make an effect on you, okay? So we just kept going with this perpetual motion, all right? This train flying down the tracks. You could see Harrison just break down more and more and more up until round 9, where he cracked him again. I believe it was with another right hand. And straight away, Harrison's up against the ropes. And oh my God, what a savage finish by Tszyu, everyone. I was screaming at my TV for the finish. And we'll talk about this finish, okay? So I've heard some what I believe to be controversial, because I don't think they're right at all. He had Harrison up against the ropes. And in boxing, when you are not defending yourself and you're taking clean shot after clean shot after clean shot, like Harrison was doing from these uppercuts from Tszyu, the ref needs to jump in there and stop the fight. I know no fighter wants to have that happen. They all want to go out on their shield. But brain damage is a real thing, okay? I've seen some fights be very scary when it comes to that kind of damage, okay? I watched Adonis Stevenson almost die against Alexander Vyozdik, okay? It's hard to watch. I love the sport of boxing. It's one of my favorite sports, but I never really want to see that happen in a fight. I've watched the Nigel Benn, Gerald McClellan fight. G-Man hasn't been the same ever since that fight, okay? This isn't just, you don't play boxing, everyone, okay? You play basketball, you play baseball, you do not play boxing, okay? You can die in this ring. And then it's up to the corner and it's up to the ref to stop this from happening, okay? Because every fighter, they're going to want to go down on their shield. They want to be the warrior, but listen, I'd rather see you fight another day or at least live to see a full life, okay? I don't want to see this shit happen in the sport. So he eventually does go down from his uppercuts and a left-right combo that puts him on the canvas. You could see he was done. I don't care that he beat the count and walked back and forth. I'm very glad that his ref stopped the fight. He should have stopped it sooner, but he did stop it then, and I'm glad he did. So for all those people who I've seen online saying that was a bad stoppage, that wasn't a bad stoppage, okay? It should have been stopped earlier, okay? Harrison was doing nothing, okay, to stop that absolute onslaught of punches. Any further offense from Tszyu was only going to be more brain damage or future brain damage against Harrison, okay? So that was a good stoppage. This is a legit win over Tony Harrison, the man who has, and only the only man who is beating Jermell Charlo, okay? Which we'll quickly touch on now. Not only has Tony Harrison beaten Jermell Charlo, Tony Harrison historically fades late and then gets knocked out, which is what happened in the revenge fight in Charlo Harrison 2. Charlo ends up stopping him in the 11th round. But even at that point, he was up on at least one of the scorecards, Tim Cheatham's scorecard, okay? So even when he does lose his fights, Harrison, he's always in the fight and he's normally winning rounds and winning on some cards based on this pure boxing skill. He wasn't tonight, everyone. He was down on the cards, okay? And even then, the cards were just another fast as well. They only had Tszyu up by 1 or 2 rounds. It's a very, very slim margin. That was not the case at all. Tszyu was dominating this fight, everyone. Steve Farhood was scoring for Showtime Sports. He's another Yank, okay? And much like I'm an Aussie boy and I'm going to stand my other Aussie boys, most of the time, a Yank is going to be biased towards another Yank. I accept that I'm biased towards Aussie fighters. But he only had Harrison winning the first round, and he gave every other round to Tszyu. This is how much of a dominating performance it was by Tszyu tonight over Harrison. So I don't understand what these judges were seeing, okay? I mean, look, it's not like Harrison was garbage, okay? It wasn't like he was not doing anything. He just didn't have any answers to the kind of combos and power punches that Tszyu was throwing to you tonight. In fact, he didn't really throw his own power punches himself. Now, I love the jab. I think the jab does need to be scored just like any other punch in boxing. A power punch says power, but that doesn't mean it's a more powerful shot. A power punch is any punch that's not the jab. But you can have a real stiff jab that connects, and you can pepper in some light hooks, just setting up your big punch. That peppered in light hook, if it lands, it's not really all that impactful, but it will be scored as a power punch, okay? While that stiff jab that may knock someone down is still just going to be scored a jab, okay? So it's not saying that power punching is better than jabs or jabs are better than power punches. What I'm saying is a punch is a punch, and it should be scored based on the effect it has on the fighter, okay? And some of these jabs by Harrison tonight were pumping back the head of Tszyu, so they were effective. But all that being said, you still probably do need to throw a few power punches in a fight to win the rounds. Unfortunately, even though I disagree with it, just like I just said, the judges, they do favor the flashier kind of punches, although these judges clearly didn't if they had the margin that slim. Going back to a fighter I just mentioned earlier, Gennady Golovkin in his first fight against Canelo Alvarez. I fully believe Triple G won that fight at like 8 rounds to 4. I think I gave Canelo the first 2 and the last 2 rounds in that fight. But there ends up being a draw, mainly because of Adelaide Bird's scorecard, but whatever. The fact that it was still slim on the other cards was ridiculous. The entire fight, Triple G was just pumping his stiff, and Triple G's got a very stiff jab, okay? And he was pumping into the face of Canelo all night, but they don't want to score that. All Canelo did in the middle rounds was land a flashy combo here and there, but that's enough for some judges to give you a round, okay? So Harrison needed to do more of that this fight. I believe. So why didn't he? Now, I've seen another couple people say that Harrison's washed. A load of bullshit. Okay, everyone? In the pre-fight build-up, much like myself, I was worried about the style matchup for Tszyu. I saw a lot of people saying that Harrison is going to school Tszyu and he's going to show him what boxing really is. Tszyu's only fought bums. This is a step up too much. Harrison's going to school him. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Harrison loses, oh, Harrison's washed. He doesn't, he's past his prime, blah, blah, blah. Okay? You hear that with so many Tszyu opponents. Everyone doubts Tszyu, saying the guy's too much, he's going to school him. Yeah, guys like, I don't know, Dennis Hogan. And then all of a sudden he knocks out Dennis Hogan. He knocked out in the 5th round. And everyone's like, oh, they're just washed, okay? They've lost a step. You know the reason they've lost a step? It's because Tszyu's just cut their legs off, everyone, okay? That's why they've lost a step. This pressure he applies, it breaks down your will. It takes your soul. He is the soul taker for a reason, everyone. When you've got someone who's acting like a Terminator, taking your best punches, not showing any emotion or sign that he's just been punched, and he continues to come forward and he continues to rip you with hard hooks and overhand rights. Of course, you're going to feel like, what do I do here? Okay, so it's not like these people have lost a step. He's made them lose a step. Okay, he's made them appear washed because he is that good. Okay, these people aren't crap. He's good. Okay, and he's making them look that way. Okay. I bring up the same fighters in every one of my reviews, but this is what the case with Klitschko was, okay? You could have the 2 people in the top 10 fight each other, and they look good. Then they fight Vlad Klitschko, and they look crap, and they look washed. It's because he's leagues above. Now, I'm not saying that Tim Tszyu's leagues above the rest of the division. I still think this Charlo fight is going to be a very tough fight for Tszyu, but he has that kind of demeanor in the ring where he changes the other fighter. I think Mike Tyson said it best, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's evident here in any Tim Tszyu fight. Everyone has a plan to beat Tim Tszyu until they get hit by Tim Tszyu. Okay? I think I've touched on a lot of the fight, although all I've done is pretty much praise Tim Tszyu the entire time. I will give credit to Tony Harrison, okay? I said he's a great pure boxer. Okay, he's got some good wins. He's got a great win over Jermell Charlo. I don't think there's any controversy over that win. I watched that fight, and he was schooling Charlo in the ring. Charlo learns. Charlo gets the revenge. Charlo knocks him out in the 11th. Okay, but he's a good fighter. Everyone. Okay, he's no bum. This was the toughest test for Tim Tszyu, and he passed it with flying colours. I don't really know where Harrison goes from here. He was really trying to set up the trilogy fight with Charlo, and that's probably the best he could have hoped for. I don't think he really wants to just muck around in the bottom 10 of the division. Will he retire? I don't know. I think this is his 4th loss. A lot of them have been KOs. He's going to keep getting older. He did have a couple of years seniority over Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was a much younger fighter. That may have played into it. But look, he's a hell of a fighter. Was the toughest test for Tim Tszyu. So, and you know what? The other thing I respect the hell out of, you hear so many fighters say, no excuses, but here are my excuses. There was none of that from Harrison tonight. It was pure respect for Tszyu. He was like, the better man has won tonight. He's the better man. I respect that. It takes everyone's got a huge sense of pride and ego. You've got to have a huge sense of pride and ego if you were going to be a boxer. You need to think you're the best in the world. Otherwise, you won't be the best in the world. So it's important that that's the case. But to then have the humility to admit that someone's got you beat, I respect the hell out of that. And he didn't want to give his assessment of Tim Tszyu after the fight, but look, it's been about 24 hours since the fight. Had a bit too much to drink watching the fight to do my review yesterday. But since then, he's given his assessment and he thinks he's ready for Charlie. He was praising him, okay? So look, I respect the hell out of that, Harrison. Props to you. You're a great fighter. I wish you all the best in your career moving forward. But moving forward for Tszyu, this is what we need to get to now. And that's it's coming, okay? The showdown with Charlo's coming, all right? He was already signed up to fight Charlo until Charlo breaks his hand in camp, okay? So this fight is 100% guaranteed, in my opinion. So how does it play out? Because, look, I'm biased. I want to think Tszyu beats him. Of course I do. But I do think this is probably a 50-50 fight. But is it? I mean, look, I don't want to say Charlo's got his number. I haven't seen it. But he's a beast, okay? He really is. The pop in Charlo's punches, it's the great equalizer in all of boxing. Deontay Wilder has a whole career based off of losing the fight up until he wins the fight with a knockout, okay? Charlo's got a bit more skills than Deontay Wilder. He has got some unanimous decision wins and all that, okay? Wilder, only one of his wins has come in a unanimous decision. I think every other one's been a knockout. So that's the perfect example of the great equalizer with Wilder. But look, you want to know how hard Charlo hits? You go look at the Jason Rosario fight, okay? He knocked out Jason Rosario with a jab to the body, everyone. That's incredible, okay? Jabs don't normally knock people out, okay? And a jab to the body, I mean, you get hit in the body in the right place, it takes your air out, you can't get back up, so maybe that was the case, but that still came from a jab. A jab, everyone. He knocked out Rosario with a jab. That's insane, okay? And he's happy to lose these rounds, okay? Because he knows he's got this pop in him, okay? In the rematch against Harrison, like I said, he was down on one of the scorecards, okay? So it doesn't matter to Charlo, okay? Because if he catches you, you're gone. And Tszyu, like I said earlier, he's I won't say he's one-dimensional. He was throwing out the jab today. He was counter-punching. He isn't just this come-forward machine throwing power punches, everyone. But he doesn't really have a lot of head movement, okay? And he doesn't really have a lot of lateral movement. It is kind of come forward. So, and that plays right into Charlo's hand. So it's going to be a very dangerous fight for Tszyu. I don't know if he's going to change much on how he fights. But will this pressure that's broken and cracked every other fighter that Tszyu has fought crack Charlo? And I think it might, okay? If he is able to take Charlo's best punches and walk through it like he's the Terminator again, I think that will really play on Charlo and his mind and how he's feeling about the fight, okay? When you hit someone with your hardest punch and they show zero emotion, you're shitting bricks. You're thinking, fuck, what do I do now? For a fundamental boxer who's trying to be a pure boxer, like your Floyd Mayweathers, I don't mind that you've taken their best punch because I know they're just going to keep boxing out the rounds and keep banking them and win that way. A win's a win, okay? It's not always exciting to win that way, but a win's a win, okay? But when you're someone like Charlo who expects people to crumple from his best shots, if Tszyu can take this, and that's a big if, everyone, like I said, he's got a huge amount of pop. I don't know what Charlo's going to do. And I do think he might crack under this pressure. Because it's not just him walking forward. Tszyu's got great combos head to body as well. He's got a lot of that going for him. And it's he loves the uppercut, okay? Not a lot of people throw the uppercut in boxing anymore, okay? It's a very underused punch, but he uses it. He throws it out there. So I think if you start catching Charlo with these uppercuts, you start catching him with these shots to the body, these hooks, he may have a chance here, okay? Charlo has obviously only lost once, and that was in a decision. So he's never been knocked out. I don't actually think he's been knocked down. Can he stop him? It's yet to be seen, everyone. It is yet to be seen. This, in my opinion, is a 50-50 fight now, okay? Before this Harrison fight, I was, I want to believe he could win, but I had my doubts. Obviously, I had my doubts of him going up against Harrison. But now, after that dominating performance against Harrison, I really think he has a chance here. And you know what? This is for the undisputed championship, everyone, okay? When Cambo beat Teofimo Lopez, Teofimo was coming off his best win against Lomachenko, okay? Who is, at that point, I thought he was pound for pound #1 in the world. He moved up a bit too much in weight. He was a bit old. Teofimo was bigger. He fought the wrong fight against him. Teofimo did beat him, though, okay? Which was a huge upset, in my opinion. And then we had Cambo beat him. But Lopez wasn't like he was champ for a long time. He wasn't undisputed. He wasn't knocking out other champs at his own weight category. This is what Charlo is doing, okay? He is a 100% legit undisputed champion of super welterweight. This will be huge for us Aussie fans if he can beat Jermell Charlo. Not only that, if he takes down the boogeyman of his division, that cements him as someone who should be able to win more, okay? That he will beat other boxers, because that's been the other issue. Like I've said before, our boxers seem to have reached the mountaintop and fucking trip and fall down the other side, back to obscurity, I don't know where Cambo goes from here. I think Jeff Horn's retired, okay? I think if he can beat Charlo, this will cement him as an undisputed, not only the undisputed champion, but an undisputedly great Aussie boxer who's can't be fucked with, I don't think anyone else can really take that belt back off him from anyone else. I mean, Brian Castano, I'd love to see that fight, okay? I think maybe he should have fought him before Charlo, because I think that'd be a great build-up. But so there are other boxers in the division, but if he can beat Charlo, that is huge. And if he does beat Charlo, which, God, I hope he does. Where does that place him already among the greats of Aussie boxing? Okay? When this Charlo fight does happen, if you're a boxing fan, pay for pay-per-view, go to your local sports bar, because it's going to be a cracker of a fight. So we'll end it there, except for one more thing. And I want to ask you all of this. What's his fucking name? Say his fucking name, and that name is Tszyu, everyone. You've been here with Hogsley. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit, and we will see you down the road.
Network, that's the way we play. Good God Almighty. Network, that's the way we play. Get puppies. Network, that's the way we play. Get.
The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.